Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live stream. Today is the 3rd of April, 2020. And during my interview series this week, I'm bringing on people in the tech industry and other people who are also inspirational, sort of a mixture of guests here. And today I want to bring back a guest I last interviewed back in Chicago in 2015. He's coming to us all the way from Australia, where there is a 16-hour time difference. It's 4 o'clock. A little after 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in Phoenix. It's 10 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia. Please welcome back to the show, live from Australia, Mr. Bryce Whitty. Hey, Bryce.
Hey, how you doing?
Excellent, excellent. How have you been?
Yeah, not bad. Keeping busy with all this coronavirus stuff, but yeah, staying busy.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bryce. Is there any way, can you lower your camera down just a little bit? Can you point it down? Well, a little bit. Yeah. Good. I got a lower third there below you, and it was right up against your face, so that's better. I would thank my sister for doing the lower thirds for us today for the show and that wonderful, cool intro that she made, which is just amazing. Bryce, why don't you let people know who you are for people who don't know and what you do?
So I run a website called Technibble.com, and it is designed for computer techs to basically learn how to market their business. So obviously a lot of techs definitely know their tech, very good at that. But some need a little bit of help with the marketing side of things. So that's what I help people do.
Yeah, and I have to tell you that as a tech, that's the part. There's a couple of parts I suck at. I am a terrible salesman, and I'm not good at marketing. Like, I kind of feel like I'm here to help you if you want my help, but I'm not here to convince you that you need my help. And one of the arguments that I have is when technicians, there's something people do that really bothers me. I'd kind of be interested in your feedback on it. And that is, when somebody says, well, you know what, this just happened to me recently. I was on a website where I was looking for somebody to do some like plumbing work around my house. And they have these people that submit, it's like not Taskit, but it's, I can't think of the name of the site. Anyway, so people who claim to be handymen and plumbers, they provide, they're self-employed, and this is how they get jobs. So I put a job at saying I need somebody to do this, and they reach out to me, and this guy says, I can do the job. And I said, well, how much is it? And then he says, it's this much for this part of it and this much for that part of it. And I said, well, what about an hourly rate? He goes, oh, no, I can't charge an hourly rate. I got kids to feed. I'm licensed, bonded, insured. I go, yeah, but I'm not a company. I don't need anybody licensed, bonded, insured, and I'm not having you do any new construction, just having you take out a dishwasher, put in a new one. That's simple. It's done in 20 minutes. If it takes me a half an hour and I don't do it for a living, you should be able to do it faster than me. There's no plumbing work. There's no rust. Everything's in great condition. You just have to literally remove 3 hoses. I know what's involved. Yeah. And he says, well, you're not going to, he says to me, how much were you budgeting for this? I said, for both jobs, no more than what you want for the first job. And he goes, oh, you're not going to find anybody who's bonded and insured that will do it for that price. Yeah. Now that's like challenging me, right? Has that ever worked where somebody went, oh, okay, then I guess I'll pay you this outrageous rate? So what I'm getting at is, I used to do something very similar if customers didn't see my value. And what I have since learned is it's a waste of time trying to convince somebody of your value. If they see it, great. And if they don't, I wish you the best of luck. Not even that. I'll just be like, look, if you can find somebody who can do the job better than me, cheaper than me, then we'll both be happier. Yeah. I was curious, what's your take on that?
A lot of it is showing what is the point of difference. So, for example, if I just looked you up for the first time on like one of those Tasker sites, let's say your price is twice as much as the other guy. What makes you different. And some people do like the bonded thing, which we were talking about, if it's a business, because some businesses have insurance policies that require that any work someone does on the business is, insured in case something bad happens, that sort of thing. But a lot of the time, people just don't know why you are better and why you're worth that much. So sometimes, if you're willing to educate them for doing that, you said sometimes it is a bit of a waste of time, and sometimes it is. It kind of depends whether these people are price shoppers, they're just sort of tire kickers. But other times you can say, hey, look, yeah, I'm insured, I'm a proper business, I have a storefront or don't, or something like that. You sort of need to demonstrate the difference, because people don't know, like they just see your name, they see your price, and I don't know why one guy's worth more than the other. So sometimes you want to, but yes, as you mentioned, sometimes you are wasting your time, because some people are just like, I'm just looking for the cheapest price and I don't really care.
Right. Or in the case of like licensed bonded, that may be if it was new construction and there's going to be an inspector making sure you're up to code. This is taking something out existing, putting something back in that's pretty much the same exact thing, the same connections. And I'm intelligent enough to know, or experienced, however you want to phrase it, to know I know what this guy is going to do. I know I can do it myself. I'm running out of time, and I want to pay somebody to do it, but I want it to be done right. And so what I thought was unusual was many of the other people that answered this request I had for assistance were all charging, $40, $45 an hour. So, this guy wanted $150 to put in a dishwasher and $100 to put in a faucet. I'm like, I'm literally taking the exact same faucet. I bought the exact same model with the exact same fitment with no rust and no damage, but it's got a lot of crud built in because their water's very hard water. And all you have to do is take the old one out, put the new one in, and again, hot water, cold water, and the drain. That's it. It's all in place, no repair. It should be a 20-minute job. It'll take longer to empty the cabinet out so you can work under there and put everything back. He wasn't going to hear it. He's like, it's this much for the faucet, it's this much for the dishwasher. But what I didn't like was you're not going to find, he told me, you're not going to find a licensed and bonded person to do that job at that price. I didn't ask for anybody to be licensed or bonded. Number one. Number two, it sounds like a dare. Like, to me, that's not going to win me over.
Challenge accepted.
Right, exactly. So to me, it was like, this is not a good way to sell your business. So again, this guy may be a very good plumber, but he, in my opinion, wasn't a very good salesman, and I used to do the same thing. Now what I do is I say, here's what I charge. And they say, I'll give you an example, one that you might find as humorous as I did. Person says, I got your number from a friend of mine. They referred you to me, all right? So they already know I'm reputable. I was referred. It's the best marketing I've got. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up here. And they said, I got a laptop that won't turn on anymore, and I've got pictures of a friend who's passed away on there that are very important to me. Can you retrieve those pictures? I said, yeah, I can arrange to pick up the laptop from you. I can extract the drive, hook it up to a USB device, pull whatever data you want off to another storage device that I can either sell you or you can provide to me.
Yep.
And then I can return it to you. So I will pick up and deliver the unit included for $125. She goes, why so much money? I said, well, data recovery is traditionally a 4-figure number. And what I'm offering you is an extraordinarily low price, and it's a flat rate I charge for any job. But I think you'll find if you look what data recovery costs or data rescue, it is my minimum charge. And she goes, well, I can't afford that, so thanks anyway. There's 2 levels there. One, there's a difference between, I'm going to share some of my philosophies with you and I want to get your feedback. There's a difference between having a customer and having a good customer. That right there is a red flag for me. That this person doesn't have any money, is asking a lot, doesn't understand the value of it, And if I do this one job for them, what are they then going to expect is included as far as any future questions? I get that implied a lot from those kind of people, which puts me in an awkward, because I don't like to say no. I don't want to say I'm not going to help you. So it puts me in a really awkward and uncomfortable place when they start following up with questions unrelated to the work and feel like, hey, I did you the favor. I let you work on my computer for $125. That's kind of the way it feels.
Yeah.
And I feel like, no, wait a minute. I did you the favor. I did it at a fixed rate. I told you ahead of time what it was going to cost. I told you how long it was going to take. We agreed to those terms. That transaction is ended. Anything beyond that is a new transaction.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious what advice you have for myself or somebody like me on how we can, what are the red flags to look out for when customers call? Are there such a thing as bad customers? And what's the best way to handle those situations or to avoid them?
Well, I think you did the right thing pretty much straightforward there. You sort of you detected that red flag pretty early. That they're sort of like, it's some people, they, no matter, like, they just don't have enough to do what you need to do. Like, and they will shop for the absolute most bargain basement person they can, and that's fine. Like, that's, if they need to do that, they need to do that. But you as a tech don't necessarily have to do that work, and you do want to help people. If it's lost photos and all that stuff, you can obviously understand. Sometimes it's someone passed away or something, and you actually, it pulls the heartstrings a bit, and you really do want to help them. But at the same time, Kerry, you've got a family. You need to, you need to pay the bills, which sounds a little bit cold, but you got to do that. So some red flags to look out for. Obviously, price shoppers. Again, people are entitled to look for a good price, but your services are worth something, and you have certain overheads as well, of course. What else? I think a lot of people that sort of, when you do specify the price or specify what you do, they sort of ask that little bit more and that little bit more. That we're expecting just more and more based on beyond the service that you're offering or what they already paid for. So that was a red flag that you mentioned in your story as well. What else?
Well, what about?
I think those two are the key ones.
So a lot of times what ends up happening is a customer may call and say, I just have a quick question. Oh, just one more thing. Well, I've got you on the phone. Let me ask you about that. And now the clock is not the billing clock. Like, I don't have anything set up. And I'm thinking this could turn into a sale, right? Maybe this is leading to, I need you to come out.
Yes.
How long do you think you should tolerate just one more thing? Just one last thing. And it goes on after how much time? And then how do you politely say, I'm not answering any more questions without a credit card?
For new customers, I tend to be a bit more stricter with that. So like, hey, I'm happy to help, but I do kind of really need to see the machine. I need to know what I'm looking at so I can actually, tell you what to expect, price-wise, that sort of thing. For existing customers, I often know what the systems are, and some of them spent like many thousands with me, and I go quite a lot further and help them. I've even given half an hour of help just to good existing customers because I know that they value the service and they are happy to pay for the service when needed. But yeah, someone new, straight off the bat, they sort of, I need to see what I'm looking at, and I need to know what to expect.
I remember back when the yellow pages were a thing here in the States, big old phone books. I had an advertisement in there that was very expensive every month. The phone book only came out once a year, so you had to basically contract for 12 monthly payments.
Yep.
And it was costing me money. I had people calling me asking me if I do my own taxes. I had people calling me asking me if I buy used parts. And this is back in the day when we were paying per minute with the cellular phones. And I used my cell phone as my business phone. Because back then with the landlines, they'd charge you twice as much money if it was a business line. And they claimed that was because you got a free text listing in the yellow pages. Whereas I paid a little, advertisement about yay big up in the yellow pages. And all it did was create solicitation. Or I had people that were calling asking, hey, you know, my floppy drive light, this will give you an idea of how long ago this was. My floppy drive light stays on. What can I do to fix that? It's a customer I never heard from before. I don't know who they are. And, you know, look, if you put the floppy drive cable on backwards, that's what will cause that problem. But I don't know that as a fact, and I don't know what liability I'm taking on if this guy reaches in and shocks himself. So I said, look, you know, it's something I'd really have to see. And he says, well, can't you just tell me? And I was just, you know, still early in the days, and there weren't sites like Technibble. There wasn't advice anywhere to get because, you know, I'm like one of the original computer repair guys. And the reason I got in the business is I like to help people. But there are people that will let you help them who don't need the help. There are rich people who will let you work for them for free.
Yes.
And get really angry at you when you stop. Like, I was there for you in the beginning. I helped you start your business, and this is how you show your appreciation. I'm serious. This is like a real thing.
Jeez, yeah, like yeah.
You let me work for you for a very low rate. Thank you. I mean, there's some truth to what they say, but at the same time, price of living it goes up every year.
Of course.
I get better at what I do, which makes me worth more every year. And he should want to see me grow. This client shouldn't want to keep me under his foot, is the way I call it. And he was very, very wealthy and could very easily afford to pay me a little tiny bit more. So you'd think he'd be happy for me. That's how naive I am.
Yeah.
So I told this customer who called, he says, you know, my floppy drive light comes on, it wants to, and I said, look, I really have to see it. And he goes, okay, thanks, goodbye. And after the call, I realized he didn't ask how much I charge. He didn't ask where I was located. He didn't ask what hours I was open.
Yeah, he was after a freebie, yeah, for sure.
And it wasn't a client I'd ever heard from before, never heard from since.
Yeah.
Now, I do agree with you that when you have a client that's been with you for a while, of course it's good to I do it all the time. Hey, no charge. Don't worry about it. You're fine. And sometimes I've had clients say, well, I say, why didn't you call me earlier? Why did you wait for this problem to get this bad? They said, because you won't charge me. The last 3 times I've called you, you didn't charge me. And I feel bad about that. And I said, will it make you feel better if I send you a bill? And they say yes. I'm like, okay. That's insane to me. But that's actually happened more than 3 times. I said, look, these problems you called me for were simple. And when you have enough of them, I was planning to send you a bill. But if you'd like, what I'll do is you can pay me once a year so that you feel like you have the right to call me. And I said, when you wait and the problem gets worse, you're creating more work for me. If you would have called me right away, this would have been a lot easier. Then this idea that, well, you know, because you don't charge me, I feel like I'm bothering you. Which is the exact, so you have these 2 completely opposite types of customers. And that's what I'm saying, customers versus good customers. Those people who care that you're not getting paid, I will bend over backwards for them.
Yes, yeah.
And the other ones who want everything and pay you nothing, you got to remember do you remember when you first started your business, Bryce, you were happy to take any job.
Yeah, pretty much.
And at some point, right, you're just like, I need the money. I don't like this person, sounds difficult. I don't want to do this job, but I need the $50 or whatever it is, you know. And then eventually, if things go well and you get busier, you start to realize that you don't have to take those jobs anymore. And I've often found that when you turn down work, it opens up opportunity for better work. And when you're busy doing the cheap stuff you don't want to do that you're barely making ends meet with, it makes you unavailable to take on the opportunity for a client to call and say, I need you here now. You're like, I can't, I'm working on something. And they call somebody else, and you just stepped over $1 to pick up a dime.
Exactly, yeah.
So here's what I want to do, since I've been talking most of this interview. I'm trying something new, and that is letting my guest talk. And
hey, it's your show, you know, you do what you want.
You're my guest, and you're the expert in marketing and sales as a IT technician yourself. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about this current situation with the COVID situation around the planet right now, And is this a good thing or a bad thing for people as technicians? What kind of work should we be doing? What kind of work should we be avoiding, like, going over to people's homes and such? And for people that have lost their jobs, that are interested, or maybe been doing this stuff on the side, is it recommended that they start their own business? And if so, how? And now the floor is yours.
Okay. So to start with the COVID stuff, a lot of the work that's happening at the moment is helping businesses sort of get from working basically on site, because most of these businesses were forced to shut down, depending on the country. But so a lot of them were forced to work at home now, but their home setups just aren't really, ready for it. So things like webcams sold out really quickly. My chair actually just broke. I can't even get a chair at the moment, which is a bit crazy. VPNs as well is quite popular as well, helping people finding a way to log into the work machines. And sometimes it doesn't have to be like sort of like a VPN or like a UTM appliance, something that's sort of that's powerful for them to log into this onto server. You could just run something like TeamViewer or Splashtop or something like that, something that's licensed to do so anyway. That got a lot of people up and running quite fast. So it's been some big changes. There's actually been quite a lot of work for a lot of people to sort of, because everyone was just desperate to get up and running, working at home. With starting a business at the moment, for break fix, it depends. It really depends on the clients. It depends who your people are. There's definitely quite a lot of work for break fix, even though some people would say that break fix is dead, but there's still quite a lot of work out there for it. Starting at the moment, if you can get a little bit of that business work, then it's all there. It's quite available to you at the moment.
So that was leading me to the next thing, that they say being a PC tech, it's dead. They've been saying that for 10, 15 years. It's dead. Yeah. I've never been busier, and the load on the shoulders of the people in IT right now is immense. Companies, my own clients that never had any interest of being remote, now need to be remote. And even situations where they need to give a computer to the employee and they don't have spares to take home with them. And the security implement...
laptops and stuff.
Well, unfortunately, they're not laptops. I mean, I wish it was laptops. I wish right now I had about 100 off-lease business laptops that were very inexpensive and that we didn't necessarily need back, so that the home users could abuse. Look, I know how people treat stuff in general that they don't own. We probably won't want them back. Yes. So we don't want to give them anything nice, and we don't want to give them anything that would incentivize them to be playing World of Warcraft or something other than its intended use, which is just connect remotely to their workstation at the office as if they were sitting at their desk and get back to work.
Yeah.
So it's brought up a number of challenges for me, and I was going to say I've never been busier, but I won't go that far. It's very busy, and the amount of stress is that they need it done now when there's been no preparation for it. And as you mentioned, getting a web camera, something as simple as that. Good luck.
There's no stock. Yeah.
And Amazon is prioritizing home goods and essentials. So I'm trying to set up another streaming solution for me because my wife is now working from home, and her and I can't be using my limited upload bandwidth at the same time. And furthermore, she's dealing with private customer data, and with her voice being picked up on my microphone and going out over the web, it could be a HIPAA violation. Yes, so I've got a friend with a vacant house, and I'm trying to set up a duplicate setup with another camera, another microphone, another tripod, another keyboard, another mouse, another streaming computer, another USB cable, another headset, another extension cord for the headset. And Amazon says I won't see that for like 3 weeks. Some of that stuff. Some of it I have, and some of it they say the end of April.
It's crazy times.
And I guess I could go to a local store like Best Buy or Office Max, Staples, but then I'm putting myself out there and potentially getting infected, which I don't think would kill me, but I think it would definitely make me not feel good, and I wouldn't get any work done. So it's going to cost me.
Yes, yeah.
So right now is the best time ever for, ordering online, except, at least as Amazon is concerned, the delays are...
Getting stuck.
Yeah, trying to find a webcam was darn near impossible. I ended up ordering one. I've got a guest I want to bring on who doesn't have a webcam. And I said, I'll provide one to you. And it's coming from China, so it's going to be 3 weeks. But at least I found one.
At least.
Yeah. Right, exactly. It's not, look, this guest is someone that it's not time. If he gets the camera tomorrow, great. If he gets it next month, fine. But when he has it, we'll be ready and we can do what you and I are doing now. So that's made it a bit of a challenge because one of my clients wants to provide a computer to a coworker, and they have a spare computer. I built them a computer so they'd have a spare, and it's been sitting brand new since December 2016 and has never been turned on. And I said, well, you can't just give her that. You can't give the employee, that has to be updated. I said, do me a favor, just hook it up in the office, I'll connect to it remotely and I'll update it. It turns out it still had Windows 7 on it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I had to do the Windows 10 upgrade, which is still free, And then after Windows 10, the updates, then the new Samsung Magician software, new drivers. I've got to put some Malwarebytes on there with a license. And I said, is this employee going to have a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, speakers? Oh, yeah. Well, we better get those ordered. Well, we have a spare keyboard and mice. So I make my clients, my retainer clients, I strongly advise them. I don't make them. Keep this kind of stuff spare. Keyboards and mice are cheap. So luckily they had that laying around, brand new in a box. Monitor they don't have. Trying to find a monitor on Amazon. They said it's not expected to arrive once we found one until the end of next week. And then I said, well, wait a minute. Can this person run an Ethernet cable or do they need Wi-Fi? Because in the office we run all Ethernet cables. Good thing you asked. See, here's the problem. This employee's husband works for ICE, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and travels with the illegal immigrants back to their country of origin and has exposed him to COVID, and so they have sent him to stay home. They have quarantined him. As a result, they don't want his wife, who works for my client, to come into the office. And that means once this computer goes into her home, if we don't get it right the first time, I'm not going over her house. And if she brings it back, I don't want to touch it for how many days? So it's important, when I talk about the stress, it's important that we do all of this right, but then they want to get her up and running on Monday if possible. And I'm like, no. I said, if you guys, they're like, can we just source this at Best Buy? I'm like, you could source something from Best Buy, and it might work fine, but if it doesn't, what do we do? If you just wait a week, and this client said there was no hurry when I talked to them. Now they're saying we'd like to get her up and running on Monday or Tuesday. And I'm like, look, Friday's not for, Friday's when this stuff's supposed to arrive, a week from today. It's my advice, just suck it up. Let's do it right. Things can still go wrong, but if we do it right, it's less likely. And I had to remind them, you're not my only client reaching out to me right now. And this client has called me every single day this week, when normally I hear from them once every 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm sensing a lot of anxiety. And the other thing Mike Smith and I were talking about are when you have the clients who have what I call, I need to trademark this word, Bryce, hypochondria. It's where they're sure they have a problem, but can I do this? Will I be able to do that? And I was kind of curious. So what I tell them is I say, look, what problem is it that you have? And they say, well, I don't have a problem, but. And I go, no, but. If you don't have a problem, there's nothing for us to fix. I am here and I'm available to you, as I always have been. When you have a problem, please call me. But what if, no, not what if, no. If there's a problem, call me and I'll take care of it. Do you ever deal with that? Do you ever deal with people that are looking for problems?
Yeah, I've had those sort of people who are looking for problems like that. I've had people. Sometimes people think people are spying on them. Whether that's like ex-partners or the government or something like that. I've had a few people who are a little bit weird like that. You were speaking about red flags before. I think that's probably one of the red flags when people are like, "Oh, the government's spying on me through my computer and reading all I type and all that sort of stuff," which actually these days after the Snowden stuff may or may not be true. But there's a few people who are they're quite extreme and they will call you every 5 minutes or so. So I like that word. It's a good word.
Yeah, well, it's not even so the paranoid, right, who think, what's the expression? Just because I'm not schizophrenic doesn't mean they're not out to get me. But I've had some customers that literally said what you said. Microsoft is spying on me.
Yeah.
And I tend to be pretty rude. And I go, why? You're nobody. Why do you think Microsoft cares about you? You're not a politician. You're not a celebrity. Why do you think anybody cares about you? Other than your loved ones, why would Microsoft care? Why do you think you're so important? And it's intended to sort of bring them back down to earth. Look, my mother was a straight shooter, okay? This is how I was raised. And my mother didn't beat around the bush. She just would tell you. And I think sometimes it's necessary, right or wrong, to sort of smack somebody. You slap somebody, not
say, hey.
because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're trying to snap them back to reality. Who are you and why do you think you're so important? Now, if you are important, different story. If you're the CEO of a major company and a target of an organization trying to take you down, that totally makes sense. But if you're just Joe Blow like you and me, nobody knows we exist. And so the automation of processes looking through your purchases and the sites you go to, they don't know who you are. They just know that this computer at this IP address or with this cookie visited these sites and we can market this product to you. They don't care who you are. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the client who says, my temps on my CPU are at 86C. How can I bring those down? And I go, well, why are you looking at the temps of your CPU? What problem are you having? Well, the problem I'm having is my temps are at 86C. I go, well, no, that's not a problem. That's well within the engineering design of the chip. There's no problem there. Is your computer blue screening? Is it running slowly? What is the problem you're trying to solve? That's the kind of customer I'm talking about. Customers say, well, what if I want to try and print? A customer called me the other day and said, is there a portable version of our LAN fax? And I said, your copy machine at the office works as a fax machine and it appears as a printer option on all of your office computers. And she goes, oh, well, I guess when I buy a new printer, I can look for that feature. I said, well, hold on. What problem are you trying to solve? She goes, well, we're going to have an employee working from home and they're going to need to send out faxes. I go, but they're going to be connecting remotely to the workstation at the office, which already has the LAN fax. They shouldn't be having any company data on their computers. She goes, oh, yeah. Sometimes just interrogating the customers is what's required to provide the solution, because a lot of times the customers try and tell you what the solution is.
Yes.
And I have to backtrack and go, wait a minute, why are you asking me this question? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And so that leads to these techno-hypochondriacs, which have no problem at all. How do you deal with that? Like, what advice would you give, especially if it's a good client and they're just calling you for no reason?
It's like as you sort, it is like unraveling a big ball of string. It's sort of like, okay, I guess breaking it down one by one is sort of like, so it's like, it's just like you got to unravel a big ball of string. It's like, okay, let's straighten this out. Like you just gave me a big blah
tangled it up. Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so, and then you work it out and you sort of pull it out one by one. It's like, okay, so the first thing was, okay, so you're having trouble, with the fax or the printing. Okay. Um, yeah, just, there's no real good way to do it other than just stopping them for a moment and say, okay, let's just address one at a time. What are you trying to do? Like what would you like it to happen? What's the result that you're after? And then you can work out, what that is going to be, like how to fix that issue or whatever. Because often like it's a little bit like Dr. Google with medical problems. It's like I got a runny nose. Oh, it's cancer. It's people look up these problems and they sort of go down the wrong tangents with computer stuff, and that's kind of the difference between sort of like that's what a tech knows. You sort of know the right path to go. Like, well, that information's totally irrelevant to what we're looking for, so I need to keep searching. It's that skill we have as techs and with experience, just as a doctor would with various issues. So just stop them for a moment and unravel that ball of string.
Yeah, I have found sometimes what's required is to just simply ask the customer, what's the problem? Can you just please tell me what the problem? It'd be like if I went to the doctor and I said, look, I need you to prescribe me some OxyContin. Doctor says, why? I say, because my whole body hurts. The doctor says, show me. And I go, okay, look, ow, ow, ow. It hurts everywhere. Ow, ow. The doctor goes, I see the problem. You have a broken finger. It's like, so this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, where you let the doctor do his job. Let the doctor has the experience. The doctor's the one you're paying. Yeah. Let him or her do their job. So I get a little frustrated and a little offended when customers start, I think they're in a hurry. And they're just like, just hurry up and do this so I can do the next thing. And I'm saying, no, tell me what the problem is, please, and then let me take it from there. And I will provide the solution to you. Don't tell me the solution. Let me do my job, please.
Yeah.
I can do it faster, I can do it cheaper, and I can find a more efficient way than probably 9 times out of the 10 that the customer thinks. And it's a delicate walk, because if you don't say it just right, it comes off as a bit egotistical, or it comes off as condescending, and it can result in losing an otherwise good customer over a one-time issue where you feel like you're running in circles and you don't understand why. And the sooner you get to asking the customer, wait a minute, let's stop, because I'm letting the customer lead me by the nose. What is it you're trying to do here? What is the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? And I really liked your response when you said, hold on, you've sort of, this is what I was trying to get across. It can become overwhelming to techs.
Yes.
Just as you exhibited that behavior, I threw a lot of things at you at once. And you're like, hold on, and just like you, I do the same thing. I go, hold on. One thing at a time. Let's do this one. Once we do that, let's do the next one. I'm not good at multitasking problem solving. And sometimes when you solve problem 1, problems 2, 3, and 4 automatically become solved.
Yeah.
So your site, Technibble, tell us a little about technibble.com.
So it first started out in 2006, and when I was doing a lot of break-fix work, I was actually also doing quite a bit of web design as well, which was fairly common for a lot of computer technicians. There were sites for the business side of web design, so there's plenty of sites for the skills of web design, like learning to code, that sort of thing. And there was a site that I quite liked that was largely about the business side. So it's like how to do contracts, how to even get in front of people to do a contract. And there was nothing like that for computer repair. This was 2006. So I created a website for it. I shared my experiences. I shared how I got clients. This was heading into the 2008 financial crisis. And at that point, a lot of people, a lot of techs who were probably working, in the basement somewhere of a large corporation lost their jobs and thought, well, I've got these skills, I'm going to give it a go myself. And they broke out on their own, and there was quite a large number of computer techs basically looking for these skills because lot of techs are often two minds with these things. Like there are hardline technical people, and then there's sort of a little bit more marketing creative people, and sort of the site try to bridge that gap to sort of show hardline technical people how to sort of be creative and sort of, come at a marketing campaign from different angles that sort of appeal to different people. It's grown from that point. I've released a few products on the way, and it's still running here. It's still running today.
How long has Technibble.com been around?
So what's it, 14 years, I think, now.
And how long have you been a computer technician?
So I started quite a bit before that, probably about 2002. So I grew up with computers like most of the computer techs as well. So I think my first computer was a Commodore 64. I was doing stuff for home, helping friends out, again, like most other techs. But I think the first
and
paid
pirating
stuff I was doing was
software.
about 2002. What was that?
And trading software.
Probably in the early days, but as MSPs,
It was a different
keep your nose
time
pretty
back
clean.
then.
It was a different.
Okay, we just had a similar discussion here with Jeff Hallish about. I think he had a TI-99 and then a Commodore 64. I was an Atari 400 guy, so you were the enemy.
Yeah.
That's the Coke, Pepsi, the Chevy Ford argument of. Even though they're both very similar. In fact, Jack Tramiel, who owned Commodore, bought Atari from Warner Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
So, in the end, I think Commodore won. Sorry, did I say that? But anyway,
I guess I backed the right horse, I guess.
the Technibble site is a very important site in my opinion, and the reason I say that is when I first started my business, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have an education for it. I just wanted to help people and make some money doing something I enjoyed. And when I started taking on business clients, things got to be more real. They had to be more official. And I needed things like invoicing, contracts, and I just had to I didn't want to use like an Excel spreadsheet, which a lot of my friends were using. I felt it was just too garagey, too amateur. And eventually went with Peachtree, which is a whole nother thing. And then when it came to running the business, figuring out how to market it, the Yellow Pages was expensive. It didn't result in much other than harassment, people looking for free questions to be answered or trying to sell me services. Joining the local Chamber of Commerce, I received nothing out of that. It just cost me money. I got no investment return on that whatsoever. And back then, money was very tight. So even though by today's standards, it was like $150 a year, that was like 3 jobs for me to make that back, just to break even. And if I didn't get one job from it, which I didn't, then it was a poor investment. And so Technibble offers the opportunity for people who are in business or want to become in business to get those resources. In fact, you have the computer repair, if I'm getting it right, business kit?
Computer business kit.
Computer business kit. What is it? What does it contain? How much is it?
So what it is pretty early on I noticed people with the same problem that you have, sort of a lot of, like myself, I was sort of doing a lot of helping friends and family, that sort of stuff. But when you're starting to help, actual clients and even actual businesses, sort of, they're expecting invoices. They're expecting, if you're doing managed services, obviously you need a contract with that sort of thing as well. And also, when you do get busy, you actually need some sort of organization. It's like someone dropped off their computer. Did they bring their charger in? Because they think they did, but you may not have any proof that they actually did or didn't. So through my own experience and stuff I was encountering, I made like a form for that. At this time was just for my own business. And so when someone checks in their stuff, I say, okay, you brought in your laptop, tick. Okay, did you bring the charger in? Yep. Okay, there's some CDs in there. Yep. Were there some scratches? Yep. That way they can't blame me for like those scratches, or they said they brought the charger in, but then they didn't, and that sort of thing. So it was all documented. It all had the paperwork. It had a bunch of disclaimers. So like this hard drive is kind of precarious as it is anyway. So if data loss happens while I'm fixing it, I'm not responsible, because I'll do my very best to protect it. But sometimes this thing's like a second away from dying. It may die on your bench. It just happens. So I created forms for this sort of stuff. A little bit of legal disclaimers. People could sign that. A lot of people, such as yourself, were encountering this problem. So I polished them up for something to sell, and then a lot of techs bought it, and we sold actually quite a lot of them. I counted with all my products, largely the business kit and some of the products now. I think on the site it's 6,000 something. So it's been quite popular.
And how many documents are in the kit? Like, it's not just an invoice and it's not just a contract.
Yep.
There are, as I recall, over 100 different documents.
Yeah, there's quite a few versions of each. So, geez, I haven't counted it in quite some time. But there's things like pickup drop-off form, invoice samples, web development samples, managed services, things like engagement forms. So an engagement form is something like, I'm going to work on this computer. These are the sort of things you can expect. Like, we're not going to look through your data. We're going to do our best to protect your data, but again, if the computer's already in a bad state anyway, it could get lost. But yeah, there's probably about 50 unique forms, and then the rest are variations. We eventually moved it to a fillable PDF format as well. So a lot of people were filling in them, signing them on iPads. So it's just
tablets. Yeah,
a lot of people keep it all digital as well. Yeah. So and that sells for $99 US.
So the price really hasn't changed on that over the years.
No.
Well, I can tell you that's a bargain. That probably works out to less than $1 per document. So it's a heck of a deal, and and many of these, and I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, laws vary from place to place, and so any sort of legal documentation you should verify is actually legal in your area, that it applies. Yep. But it's better than starting with nothing, which is what I had. And as I walked up the hill both ways, I sound like an old man. But, there's a reason for that, because you're an old man. Oh, thank you. No, but this is a resource. I can't tell you what a difference that could have made in my level of success sooner had it been available to me. And that's why it's so important for me to bring you on from time to time and to remind people that what you offer is very unique. It's not like you're going to shop around and find another website that offers that. And it's been offering it for a long time. You didn't just appear out of nowhere. You're a 14-year overnight success, right? So $99, is a great place to start. Sometimes people ask me, they say, I'm going to play some of my viewers to you to see how you respond. Bryce, I'm going to start my own computer business. What tools should I buy?
What tools? Absolutely first starting out, a screwdriver and USB stick was, that was 95% of what I did.
What kind of screwdriver?
Then, what's that?
What kind of screwdriver?
That screwdriver. What's that?
I was saying, what kind of screwdriver should I buy?
Phillips, a magnetic Phillips head is pretty much what I used most of the time. After that, sort of the kit grew a bit more and more. Power supply tester I used a fair bit. Spare screen, which was actually a tiny little sort of, I think it was a 13 or 12 inch. So used to cart that around. But like a USB drive with multi-boot stuff. Something with like those Windows PE environments, sort of, you can boot into a Windows if the computer just won't respond, so you can grab data or try and fix what the issue is. They were the main tools, but like I said, 95% of it was screwdriver and a USB stick, and the rest was fix the other 5% of problems.
I'm going to tell you how I answer this question just to get your reaction to it.
Yep.
I say, go get some work. Don't worry about what tools you need. Go get the job. Then go buy whatever tools you need to do that job. Then go get your next job and buy whatever tools you need to do that next job. And over time, you will have a toolkit. Don't go spending money you don't have to spend right now. You don't have anything to fix. You're wasting your money right now. Go find some work. What do you think?
I agree. I agree entirely. That's why I was sort of starting quite basic with just the two.
Well, you're probably going to
because-
need all that stuff you mentioned for sure. That's
Yeah.
that's sort of the foundation. But if you're going to be doing a lot of laptop work, like I didn't start in doing laptop work, but became I was the laptop guy for the entire Intel Corporation in Arizona and for the power company in Arizona after that. One laptop guy at the whole corporation. And it wasn't what I intended to do, but I liked it, and then as a result, bought little tiny, jeweler screwdrivers.
The tiny little screwdrivers, yeah.
And the things that were unique to fixing laptops, and before you know it, I had an assortment of tools for that. If I was fixing a lot of HP computers, having a Torx T10 bit was essential, or for compact computers back in the day. If you weren't working on those, you didn't need to spend the money on that tool. I've had people ask me what chair they should buy. And I'm like, your focus is completely wrong. It's like an author who spends all his time working on the cover of the book but has not written a page of that book.
Yes.
Write the book. Worry about the cover at the end.
Yes. Progress is better than perfection.
I like that.
Yes, and I see this a lot also in managed services as well. People, it's easy to play business, I guess. I can feel like I'm working my business, like maybe I should get a new chair, which I actually do need a new chair, ironically. But you might need a new chair, and it's like, I'm going to set up the perfect office. But as you mentioned before, unless you have clients, none of that really matters. So, you don't build out your office, you don't build out a huge kit beyond sort of like the basics. But I think part of the reason why people do that is it's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to go out there and actually talk to people and try and sell yourself. So that people go back to the things they know, like in the managed services space, they set up their monitoring software, and and they make it all automated. And it's just like, well, that's all good, but unless you have customers to send through it and actually use it, then none of it really matters. But it's just that fear of just getting out there and proving yourself. It's scary, and that's why people sort of steer that way and do that sort of thing.
Yeah, the psychology behind it's certainly very interesting, but there's those who, let's say, walk the walk, and those who talk the talk.
Yes.
You can talk business and do business, and there's two different things. And I'm always emphasizing, go get the job. One of the things, when I first became self-employed, I was working, and I had 3 hands in my paycheck. I was hired from a temp service to work for a contractor that was placed at Intel. So Intel's paying the contractor for my time, the contractor's paying the temp service for my time. And I'm like, why aren't I getting all the money? I'm the only one doing the work. In fact, Bryce, I got in trouble once because there was a server problem, and I fixed it. And I'm thinking, aren't I the hero? I'm going to shine like a diamond. And they said, don't you ever do that again if you want to keep your job. And it's like, but I just saved the day. They go, server guys, we bill out at 3 times what we bill you out for. Don't you ever do that again. You cost us money. It's like, that was the contractor.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we were all a team, and I was at Intel, and one of my team members was missing. And I said, where's my team member? They said, we let him go. Well, thanks for letting me know. Well, what happened? Well, they wouldn't tell me, but through the grapevine, what I heard was wasn't a native English speaker, and he was at one of the employees' workstations at Intel, and the employee had a picture of herself when she was younger, and while he was there fixing her computer, he mentioned how, the way it came out was, you used to be pretty. That's not really what he meant. He was trying to compliment and say something nice, but it came out wrong. She complained to her manager, and the contractor didn't want to risk losing the contract with Intel, and rather than work anything out with this employee, they just fired him.
Yeah.
And I think that's horrible, just horrible. So I said, I'll just be self-employed, and I don't have to deal with any of this. I'll have full control. And one of the things I quickly learned was doing the work. That's 50%, half.
Yeah.
Getting the work, doing the billing, doing the marketing, paying the bills, sending out the payables, doing the receivables, covering inventory, but primarily just getting the work was half of the job. Doing the work was super easy. I had that down.
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm the only guy doing the work. Why don't I get all the money? What didn't occur to me is I wasn't the one looking for the work, right? I was working at Intel. All their employees had computers. There was lots of work. So letting people know that you exist, and any business has this problem. You could be a chef who decides to own your own restaurant. Very classic story here, but you have no idea.
If I can cook, I should do a restaurant.
Right, like why shouldn't I just own the whole restaurant? But then I don't want to make, I don't want to, I'm not going to serve custom. I'm not going to be a waiter. I'm above that. I'm not going to clean the dishes. I'm above that. You can't have that attitude. You've got to do everything. You've got to know how everything in the business works. And you've got to make yourself, you've got to make people aware that you exist. So maybe you are, in fact, a great chef and you are offering great value, but you've got no business because nobody knows you're there. And then how do you market yourself where you're not spending more on the marketing than you are bringing it in? Now you have a solution for this. You see how I segued that? I'm very
very
pat myself on the back. You have a solution for this where people don't have to come up with their own marketing. And tell us about that.
So again, another one of the problems I sort of identified is exactly as you said there. It's people don't necessarily know how to market themselves. They have the tech mind, not necessarily the advertising mind, but also a lot of people, even if they do actually have a bit of advertising skill, they don't necessarily have the time to actually implement anything. So something I do, I have a Technibble membership marketing membership, and what that is we pre-write a lot of marketing content. So that would be things like, so we actually just released some COVID-19 related stuff, and a lot of that is getting set up working from home, making sure your technology is sort of up to scratch. Some of it is sort of a soft sell, so like how to stay productive working at home, and that's just things like turn off notifications, that sort of stuff. And then other stuff is designed specifically to actually generate work, and that is like, okay, let's get VPNs going. Let's find a way to log into your work machines, access your files. You can hop onto something like OneDrive, and you can all share out of there, or use Office 365, things like that. So we put out content. It's designed for educating people. A lot of people quite like that as well, because some people feel a little bit like a used car salesman sort of trying to push these services, but with something like content marketing, you can do it in an educational way, and a lot of people like sort of being more like an educator rather than sort of a sleazy salesman. But in that package as well, we sort of have the complete sales funnel. So it would be like a Facebook ads, and then from a Facebook ads you can drive them to a landing page, which is something we provide the templates for. From the landing page they can download an ebook and enter their details. The ebook has topics that they'd be interested in, so this month it's sort of working from home, which is obviously a very hot topic at the moment. And then after that point we have email follow-ups as well. So okay, they read it and then they're thinking, okay, yeah, maybe that's I'll have to look into that. With the email follow-ups, you can do things coming up a bit later. So, hey, did you get a chance to look? And let me know if you have any questions, that sort of stuff. So we have all this every month. It's all different. We also have a very large back catalogue of all this stuff as well. I started it in October 2016. So there's a lot of content for a lot of different issues. If you want to do a push on, say, Office 365, or even a lot of residential stuff like how to, do a good backup, or let's push a campaign to upgrade people to SSDs, which is usually a good money maker. You can say, the speed benefits of swapping over to an SSD. You put that on your Facebook and your LinkedIn, that sort of thing. People see it, and then the jobs can come to you. But we create all that content, so basically you don't have to, and you brand it as your own, as if you wrote it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it's like a newsletter. It's like a white label newsletter that you can brand and you can send out. So I'm not sending you my customer list. That's a whole nother there's some companies that are like, that will then take your customer list and market to them directly without your consent, or maybe it's in the fine print of the license agreement that you didn't read, that nobody reads, that enables them to do it. So this way you're controlling your list. It's still private. You're controlling what content you want to send out, but you don't have to create it. It's all professionally created on subject matter that should be stuff that lines right up with what you do anyway. Or at least some of it, right? Maybe not all of it, but certainly some of it. Like you mentioned, the upgrading the SSDs or getting people onto Windows 10, or
that was a big one.
Yeah, right. And this, how often is new content? Is it weekly? Is it daily? Is it monthly?
So we push it out monthly, but in each month there are 6 articles. 2 are targeted specifically for residential. The other 4 are generally more business related. They are quite interchangeable as well. Like backup is kind of a thing for both. Generally, there's just small nuances of like, we might mention servers in the business one, and in the residential we probably won't. And in there, there's also the ebook. There is marketing video in multiple accents, so British, American, and Australian, and that's and the landing page, as well as the Facebook ads and the email follow-ups. That comes out a unique topic every month, and we generally try to target with something that's happening that month. So earlier this year it was getting onto Windows 10. Obviously, that's a pretty big one. Actually, it was last year. Sorry, that was getting onto Windows 10. And this year, and at the moment, it's the COVID-19 stuff, working from home.
Remote access, yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that cost? How does that work? Is that a subscription base? And is there other things included with that cost? Is there a place you can go and get help or assistance or?
Yep, so that is a subscription base. It's $49 a month, just because every month we are producing that. But also, you don't actually need to go with what the topic we are doing that month. You've got the entire back catalogue for the 3 years that we've been operating. So again, if you want to do backup stuff, then you can do backup stuff if you want. And in there, there's also a forum where I can help you if you need some help setting this sort of stuff up, sort of angles to go about things. You can ask me and I'll gladly help. We also have a marketing roadmap. So in there, there's like a million things you could do to sort of market a business. In the marketing roadmap, it's sort of very straight line, do this, do that. Some people are like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, rather than hearing from a bunch of different gurus all the things that you could be doing and should be doing. This is something that's a very straight line path to sort of, start getting clients and start getting content in front of clients to get them to convert.
And this $49 a month, is that is there a minimum? Can you go month to month? Is it annual? How do you work that out?
So it's $49 per month and $450 US for an entire year.
So you get like 2 months free if you pay for the year?
Yes,
or you can go month to month. Just kind of weigh it, see how it,
you can do
stick
it. You
a
can
toe
do
in the
either.
water, see if it's working for you, see what kind of feedback you're getting.
Yeah.
And people can go to your...
and we also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So like even you find it's not for you, just let me know and give the money back. We're confident in the product, so happy for you to try it out.
Awesome. And people can get a small taste of it if they just go to your Facebook page, right? You often post little snippets, little tips. They're usually just a couple minutes. I love that you put text below what you're saying, so you can even watch it with the audio off. And I watch every one of those.
Yeah, part of creating content as well is also understanding how people watch it. And like a lot of people on the train, and they actually never unmute the videos. So that's why we've got the text down the bottom. So those videos, they just get more watches, because often you're not in a place where you can actually listen to it. So I put out a lot of business content there. We talk about the business side of things, sort of mostly marketing, how to get new clients, that sort of thing. But sometimes actual technical as well.
So we're just a little over an hour. I like to keep these at about an hour, and I'd certainly like to bring you back more often than once every 4 or 5 years, especially because what I'm trying to do here on my YouTube channel is differentiate myself from all the hobbyist and enthusiast channels that want to do things with, RGB lighting and liquid cooling and delidding and overclocking. And do you find yourself doing much of that type of work?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I've focused primarily on the marketing side. There's a lot of, with the site, and this is the entire founding on the site, is just there's a lot of technical stuff, a lot of how to do the technical side of things, but just not as much on how to do the business stuff. And if I can provide some knowledge and some solutions to help people sort of fast forward that, then that's what I do, and that's what I'm happy to do.
Yeah, it's my little sarcastic remark that most businesses aren't going to have you do anything with RGB lighting, liquid cooling, overclocking, or delidding. No. That's a hobbyist or an enthusiast activity. Not that there's anything wrong with it. But I fear that there are impressionable people watching thinking, that looks like fun, I want to do that for a living. Well, I suppose it's possible. It'd be very difficult since those jobs would be few and far between. Most people that do that do it themselves. But that being said, it is a very fun and rewarding career. And I had someone offered me a very good piece of advice, which, so your site makes it easy for somebody like me who's a terrible salesman to have this sort of pre-written white label newsletter and stuff to sort of let that sell for me. But then there's also the option of just hiring a salesperson.
Yes.
Do what you do and let somebody else do what you don't do well, which is essentially why I have a job, right? Anybody could fix a computer if they wanted to spend the time and effort to learn it, or they can just pay me to get it done with. And in the same way, maybe with some business owners, it may make sense to not try and do everything yourself, especially if you're like me, for example, and you're not a good salesman, you're not a good marketing person. You could perhaps start with the tools you offer at Technibble and see if that works to generate enough revenue. But if you want to grow your business and have employees, you're going to need a lot more work. And with that, you're going to need employees to help do the work and employees to help get the work. So it depends what your goals are. Like if your goal is, I want to be a millionaire, chances are if it's just you and you're not planning to hire anybody, that's not likely going to happen in IT unless you write an app or something that takes off. But that's more programming than it is what you and I are talking about. So with the whole COVID situation that we're in right now, it's a great opportunity for people to start a business. If they're out of work right now, you've got nothing to lose. You could offer to fix people's computers remotely. There are tools out there, instant house call, very affordable. In fact, they're
excellent.
They're doing Corey Fruitman over at Instant House Call is doing a webinar about how to start your business doing remote service using Instant House Call, which is brilliant because it's selling Instant House Call, but at the same time, it's helping people. So I don't feel like he's, raising the price of toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Like it.
No,
He's selling his product, but he's doing it with a really good, noble justification, which is, you can use my tool to help you get started remotely, and I'm going to show you how to do it.
Yeah.
So
that's the angle that a lot of people are taking. What you need to take with this COVID-19 stuff is you don't want to exploit the situation, but you want to help people. You want to say I'm here to help, and that's the angle we sort of took with the newsletter stuff. It's sort of I'm here to help. Let me know. There's obviously new issues. I just want to help, and that's what Corey's doing as well. He just wants to help, and he's showing texts and how you can help people using that product.
Well, I've got a link to Technibble down below in the video notes. I should also put a link to the Computer Business Kit. How often is that Computer Business Kit updated, and do you have to pay for updates, or is that included? How does that work?
So there's no plans for a current update at the moment. When was the last update? We haven't done a major update, but we do minor updates, so lots of small little fixes and all that. In the past, there's been a free upgrade path to the next version, and we'll probably keep doing that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Again, in the small business world of people doing IT work, there is no competition for Technibble, and I suggest, if you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. It'll cost you nothing. Go to technibble.com. There's still forums and everything there, right? Like I don't get that deep into the site. I'm mostly looking at the homepage. But when I was there and I was looking at all the discussions going on, there's people, birds of a feather, if you will, giving each other ideas, helping each other out. It's not just you with a site offering to sell you one thing or two things. It's a whole community.
Yep, join the forums. Yeah, it's just there's just a wealth of information, and I mean been going since 2006. So there's just unbelievable amounts of information, lots of business information, lots of technical information. So there's a lot to go on if people join the forums.
And how is your area right now? Are you guys in a shelter in place now?
Yeah, pretty much. We're locked down, but Australia's still got relatively low numbers, about 5,000 or so when I checked last night. But yeah, we're locked down. So I worked from home anyway previously, so it's not a huge change for me.
And those fires, was that mostly on the outskirts? Because that was pretty devastating. That seems like it just happened.
Yeah, that the last fire just basically went out, and then COVID-19 hit in Australia, so we didn't really get much of a gap from that. But yeah, the fires. I live in a city, so it wasn't particularly close to me. It was all out in the country, quite far from here.
That's what I thought. Mostly rural, outback kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. But we did get smoked out a lot of times. In Sydney, people were wearing masks because the smoke was just so thick. Like the size of these fires were as big as the country of I think it was Ireland. Who said it was just massive.
That's what I heard.
It was as big as about 5 states in southeast of the US. It was huge.
So the mask business is probably really good in Australia.
Well, the thing is, we used a lot of those masks for the fires,
That's
so we actually have a shortage of right now.
Right. Yeah, it was my tasteless joke there. But you guys can't catch a break. But I suppose if you had to look at the bright side, at least it didn't both happen at the same time.
Oh yeah. It was. Yeah, there was probably a very slight crossover, but yeah, it's. I suppose you can't say it could have been worse, I suppose, with both happening at the same time. But
it does make you
it's just unfortunate.
Wonder what's next.
One right after the other.
What's after
no
this?
Breathing room. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right. Listen, I appreciate. There's a 16-hour time difference. It's about 5:20 after 5 here, so I guess it's about 11:20 a.m. tomorrow for you.
Yes, I'm in the future, so
buy me a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
All right. So Bryce, again, always a pleasure. I'm sorry it's been so long in between interviews, but now that I'm getting my act together, I'll bring you back on and we'll catch up. We'll talk some more about inspiring people to start their own business and helping people with their current business. If you have any computer business related questions, please leave them in the comments below this video, and myself or Bryce, we'll look in there, we'll answer them from time to time. Worst case scenario, we'll read them back on your next visit. And, I love the interactive nature of YouTube versus TV. And while we didn't have much of a chance today to interact, we've got about 383 people watching live around the world right now. And for all of you watching, thank you so much. For those of you who've contributed during today's show, certainly appreciate your support of the show so I can remain sponsor-free. For all my friends in blue, thank you for whacking the trolls and keeping it civil in there. And for everybody who's not yet blue, you should know it's my goal to make you all blue. Basically, the way you become blue is don't be a jerk. That's my rule. So it's really, it's funny. Jerks exist in every gender and race and religion. So I'm a bit of a racist when it comes to jerks. That's where I'm a racist. I'm a racist against jerks and bullies. But if you're consistent, somebody I see in the chat room often, I see that you are friendly and kind, I will turn you blue over time. And also when I see people supporting the channel financially, or I see people supporting it just by showing kindness and support to each other, the internet can be a very nasty place. And I want my channel to be what I always wanted the internet to be. So while I can't control anything outside of my channel, I can control this community as far as not allowing anybody to come in and poison our well. And all our friends in blue there help to avoid that scenario, and we just basically pull the weeds, yank the trolls, pull the weeds so the garden can grow. And the community is growing every day, and I would love to see this community be the majority of the population and not the minority. And we're working towards that goal. And so again, thank you guys so much for watching. Bryce, thank you for joining me today. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. I will be back live on Monday for sure. I think I have an interview lined up Otherwise, I'm going to get back to more computer building and upgrades. I wanted to take a little break from that because I just was going a little crazy with doing the same thing over and over. And so we might have a couple more interviews, but then we're back to the normal stuff of the upgrades and the builds, as well as another Subaru video with Mike talking about what happens when you don't change the oil in your engine, and takes apart an engine that is completely destroyed on the inside, as we watch as he removes piece by piece and exposes the ugliness that lies underneath. So with that, it's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all again very, very soon. Until then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. And bye.
Thank you, Corey.
Good night, everybody. Bye for now.